What up, though, y'allas? Hope everybody had a good holiday season. Hope the new year's treating everyone right. Hope everybody's sticking to what they said they wanted to do this year. Been a few weeks, but we have 3 new episodes to go over. Some big things happened. Some firsts that may not have been firsts. Have new lands in Demon Realm. Just a lot going on. So we left off on episode 10. So obviously we're gonna start with episode 11 to kick things off. At the end of episode 10, Neva was approaching their spaceship. So obviously that's where this starts. Neva approaches the ship. Degasu and Goma are watching from their castle. Um, they're talking to Neva about things. Neva explains how they were never gonna kill Dende. That was never a possibility because Namekians are just too valuable. He said even Goma knows that. Um, as they're getting ready to leave, Neva asks to go. They say they don't have enough space, but then Neva lets them know if you don't know how to speak the Namekian language, you can't get your wish from the Demon Realm Dragon Balls. So obviously, they let him come on the ship. Piccolo said he's been on Earth too long. He doesn't know how to speak Namekian. Um, Orensu went back to Marba, the Majin witch, to create a new Majin since Ku was a dud. Or was he? But so Rensu goes back. She said there wasn't enough Boo essence in Ku, so they're gonna use the rest of that. Um, it goes back to Neva, and they're talking to him on the ship. He says he's just been on that OG Namek planet, kind of protecting it, just being there, awaiting everybody's return. So I don't know if he knows what's going on with the rest of the Namekians or not. He might be in for a rude awakening. Maybe at the end of Daima they'll take him back to Earth. Who knows? Um, but then he also said the reason why he created the Tamagamis was because the Dragon Balls are originally made to reward Namekians for like probably doing good or something like that. But then once like the bad guys found out about them, they started to just use them for foolish things. So that's why he created the Tamagamis to kind of like put another barrier in between people being able to actually use them. So sticks with Vegeta in the ship. He's telling Goku that I'm fighting the next Tamagami and kind of like demands that he's the next fighter. It goes back to Arensu and Marba and Ku. Majin Du is born. Cool name. These names are honestly awful. Boo was cool just cause, but now it's Ku and Du. I don't know. But once Du was born, he does look better. He doesn't look like a straight Cyberman. Um, it kind of gives off a vibe of like, okay, this could work. But then he starts acting goofy. He demands chocolate. Ku runs, grabs him some chocolate. Um, then he asks Orensu, like, all right, what you want me to do? So he's a little goofy, appears to be pretty subservient. So it's kind of up in the air right now whether or not this is going to work in my mind and in Marba and Arensu's mind. Everybody's kind of not too sure what to think and how this is going to go. So Arensu tells them, you're going to be fighting the Tamagami number one. So they start fighting. Dude's not doing bad. They're going back and forth. Um, but while they're fighting, he just has a goofy style. He's just a goofy guy. And then he sees that he can make a beam in his hand, and then he accidentally shoots himself in the face. So it's like still up in the air, like okay, he's kind of holding his own, but then he just shot himself in the face, and he's pretty silly. So it's still hard to gauge how this is really gonna go. It cuts to Vegeta challenging Tamagami number two. Goma and Degasu are still watching them as this is all going on. The Tamagami tells Vegeta to go home and suck on his mom's teat, essentially looking at him like, bro, you really don't want to fight me. There's no way. Then the Tamagami sees Neva and is like, oh, okay, you're serious. All right. I guess let's do this. They start fighting, going back and forth. Eventually, Vegeta lands a really nice combo, but then the Tamagami cuts his face, cuts away back to Do and Tamagami number one. In this exchange, Do is really getting the better of Tamagami number one. It's looking good, but also we kind of seen this with Ku in the early stages of the fight where he was kind of holding his own. Cuts back to Vegeta again. Vegeta gets tossed into the water. And then next thing you know, a Kraken comes up. So he has the Kraken in his face. He has to escape the Kraken. Once Vegeta gets back out of the water, Tamagami number two is just there waiting for him. He says, I'm waiting for you, whatever. Hits him back down into the crack. It appears to be what it hits him into the Kraken's mouth. That's how the episode ends. So very cool episode, very action packed. There's a lot of lingering things in the air. Obviously, Goma and Degasu are tracking them as they're trying to obtain the Dragon Balls. We have Orensu with Majin Du, and he appears to be doing pretty good against Tamagami number one. So, are we going to see her finally get this Dragon Ball to keep the good guys from obtaining all three? She can at least get one on her own, even though Glorio's kind of using the fighters to get the other two. So episode 12 starts off with a lot of questions. So episode 12 starts off with Goku kind of like approaching the water, looking for the Kraken, essentially trying to rescue Vegeta if need be. Kraken pops up and then he sees Vegeta kind of on one of the tentacles. So he escaped from being eaten, at least swallowed or whatever. Vegeta goes Super Saiyan, now fighting the Kraken and Tamagami number two at the same time. Kraken keeps missing. Vegeta keeps like hitting him away or whatever. Kind of like just like he's just a little too powerful at the moment, being Super Saiyan. The Kraken gets bored and just bounces. He just like yawns and just leaves. Um, it cuts to Do again in Tamagami number one, and it kind of appears like Do is playing with the Tamagami. He's just messing with them. He can shapeshift like Boo, something that Ku was not really able to do. And then out of nowhere, as he's about to attack Tamagami in the face, he just stops, jumps away, turns around, sits down, and throws a temper tantrum because he wants chocolate. So that was a little like, okay, is this kind of like we is it gonna collapse again like Ku because he wants chocolate? So as he's doing that, Tamagami number one takes advantage. He's like, okay, he's throwing the temper tantrum. Boom, hits him. It then cuts back to the Z Fighters. Never sees Vegeta kind of getting the best of the Tamagami. And he does something and appears to look like he gives Tamagami number two some extra strength or untaps some more power. And they're like, what did you just do? And he was like, well, you said he likes fighting or whatever, right? Cuts back to Tamagami number one and Do. Uh, Do's kind of like just avoiding running away from Tamagami number one. Ku gets back with some more chocolate, throws him some. Do eats it in the air. And after he eats it, he lets off this big blast Tamagami number one. And now we're starting to see some damage. He's starting to really get him. And then eventually they go back and forth a few more times and he defeats him. So Do is the real deal. He's silly like Boo, just more obedient, I would say. Then after he beats him, he tells him, the Tamagami tells Do, okay, there's one final challenge. Um, as they were fighting, Do and Tamagami number one, this is kind of like right outside Goma's castle, I believe. So they're feeling and kind of like noticing, like, oh, what's going on here? Even like the military goes outside and like, oh my god, someone's fighting Tamagami. So Goma and Degasu, they kind of like feel the thing shake. So they switch the screens to see what's going on outside and notice Orensu is out there about to get the Dragon Ball. Um, they just get pissed off. They obviously don't like that. They're wondering what the heck she's doing. Then the final challenge is mental arithmetic. So Tamagami number one puts up a whole bunch of numbers for Majin Du to add up and give the sum at the end. The answer was like 600 million or something like that. So even after he asked for the answer, Rensu was like, nobody could do that, blah, blah, this and that. Everybody's like, oh, hell no. Like, there's no way we're getting this. And then next thing you know, we see Ku kind of talk under his breath to Do and tells Do the answer. Do says the answer, and it turns out to be correct. So Ku, he has some type of usability. You know what I mean? He's going to fetch the chocolate. He's smart. He appears to be a team player. So he's definitely a good asset now. He's just not a fighter, I guess. He's just an extra hand, a good smart brain. So obviously they get that Dragon Ball after they answer that correctly. So Orensu now has a Dragon Ball thanks to Majin Du and Majin Ku. Cuts back to Degasu and Goma. They just seen that she got the Dragon Ball. They're kind of like freaking out. Degasu's trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, like, oh, maybe she's doing this to help us out, blah, blah, blah. Goma shuts it down. He knows that's not the case. It then goes back to the Z Fighters. Tamagami number two gets a good shot on Vegeta, knocks him out underwater. They've been fighting underwater the last couple exchanges. He kind of like hits the Super Saiyan out of him, goes down, and then next thing you know, he just charges up crazy. And I'm sure you guys have seen by now, and if you haven't seen it, you've seen it in the thumbnail. He goes Super Saiyan 3. Super cool. I guess this is kind of like the OG, how Super Saiyan 3 was supposed to look, but it didn't for Goku. But Goku asked Bulma, like, when the heck has he been able to do that? And she's like, he's been training alone by himself for a long time. So this must have been something that he's kind of just been keeping in his back pocket to bring out at the right time instead of just trying to showboat or whatever. Next thing you know, him being Super Saiyan 3 is just too powerful for the Tamagami. So he eventually beats him. And then the last challenge after beating him up is problem solving. So Tamagami tells the story essentially like, oh, this guy has this many biscuits. He goes through a couple things, loses biscuits, gets biscuits, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end he says, how many biscuits does this guy give to the snake? Or how many biscuits can the snake eat after all that stuff happened? And then Vegeta was just getting pissed, more upset as the story was getting told, because obviously he doesn't have that mental fortitude. And eventually turned Super Saiyan because he's so upset. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, he's not going to get it. He's not going to get it. So Vegeta kind of treats it as a trick question and says, Zero, snakes don't eat biscuits. And then the Tamagami's like, you're right. And then they get the Dragon Ball. So that was a pretty funny turn of events. Essentially, both of these last challenges for Do, they cheated with Ku. And then Vegeta I wonder if he would have said how many biscuits were left, if that would have been acceptable too. But who knows? I mean, it's not for us to know. That was just something that was funny. So yeah, then they're like, okay, we gotta travel off the um the whatchamacallit, to the first realm. And obviously Goma and Degasu see that they just got this ball. So Goma's really freaking out now. And then at the end he says something along the lines of like, okay, I'm about to do something about it. And that's how the episode ends. So with after episodes 11 and 12, a lot of things have been answered. We see Vegeta's new form. We see Do is a success. We see Ku has a lot of potential that we didn't necessarily think about outside of fighting. We also see Goma kind of getting pinned into a corner, seeing one of his people about to backstab him, seeing the things he feared the most, the original reason why he turned them into children in the first place, is about to come knocking at his door. But at the end of the day, this all happened because he tried to jump ahead of the situation instead of just waiting to see how it panned out. So his whole plan's kind of crumbling down. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. So we have one more episode to talk about, episode 13. Now, when episode 13 starts, Goma tells Degasu, shut down Warp Sama. They're not coming here. Degasu is super thrown off, like, nobody's ever done that. We're going to shut it down. He's like, go shut it down. He goes to shut it down. He's like messed up about it. He really didn't want to. He did it, and he's kind of like stressing over doing that. And so now nobody can travel between realms, and then obviously not even to back outside of the demon realm. They can't travel within or outside of it now. So it pans to the Z fighters. Their ship engine starts to fail. They crash land in this like forest with these giant plants and stuff. Obviously, Ponzi's like, okay, let's try to fix this. She realizes they lost a lot of the tools to the Kraken when they escaped that with their other ship. Bulma has a capsule with a toolbox in it, so Bulma's helping her out. That was a nice assist. It pans to Neva. He's looking around and he looks freaked out. He's getting scared and realizes where they are. And it's called the planet of Mega. I guess this is the second most dangerous place in all of the demon realm. And they're home to giants called Megath or Megath. I think it's Megath. And he also says just everything there is giant. So you have the giants themselves, but then you also have what comes with a planet. Bugs, animals, plants, stuff like that. As Bulma and Ponzi are fixing the ship, Goku starts eating like this big apple fruit looking thing. He throws the core of it, and then he notices this big hamster kind of like eyeing him down. Next thing you know, it starts chasing him and attacking him. And as they're fighting, as he's kind of like avoiding one, a whole bunch come out of nowhere and they all have to start fighting these hamsters. Then as they're doing this, you see and hear these giant footsteps approaching. The hamsters run away. They go to see kind of what it is. It turns out to be a Megath child. He has like this satchel. They Neva said he's probably walking home from school or whatever. It sits down and starts eating this snack. Then like this pet comes up and runs up to him, but then notices the Z fighters and starts to sniff them out. Next thing you know, he sees Goku, starts chasing Goku. Glorio pops in, shoots him with a gun to take the attention off of Goku. Then it attacks Glorio. Boom, knocks him down. Next thing you know, as it's about to pounce on Glorio, Vegeta comes, uppercuts him. Now Glorio says like, okay guys, we gotta play keep away, keep them away from the plane while they're fixing it. Next thing you know, they're just fighting with the dog, trying to keep him away, this and that. Goku ends up landing on the dog. He's like going through the hair, because again, this is a giant dog. Going through the hair. Next thing you know, these giant fleas surround him, pop out. They pop off of the dog. He's attacking the fleas. And while that's happening, the dog almost gets to the plane, but then Goku does a Kamehameha at the perfect time, obviously, and blasts him away as he's about to land on the plane. Ponzi and Bulma are able to finally finish the plane, but then as they're all boarding, the dog and the kid find the plane. The kid starts poking the plane with stuff. As they get up in the air, he's swiping at the plane, so they're having to kind of like fly outside of the plane. The Z fighters stop him from attacking the plane. Goku's like holding his hand as it's about to slap the plane. Next thing you know, Goku has to go Super Saiyan to kind of stop him from being able to do that. So they obviously make it away safe. Neva talks about how the most dangerous place on the demon realm is called the planet of Giga, and they're like Giga, even way bigger than these guys. So they're all like, oh my gosh. And then next thing you know, Goku kind of looks out the window and sees the Megaths kind of just living their life. He smiles. He's loving the scenery. Next thing you know, there's like these beautiful lights in the sky. That's what the thumbnail is from this part, the background of the thumbnail. And it's just this beautiful scene, and they're just talking about how oh, that's the demon realm, and Goku's looking outside like, yeah, like, and he's liking it. He's taking it all in, kind of loving his experience. So episode 14, it's going to be very interesting. I don't know what's going to happen from here. I'm expecting a Rinsu is more than likely going to storm the place, turn Warp Sama back on so that Glorio can meet up with them. And yeah, should be interesting. I'm thinking the next couple episodes are going to be a little slower compared to these three, but man, Daima is, I love it. I'm not going to lie. I can't wait to rewatch it once it's like finished, and I can just rewatch it fully. I'm really enjoying it. I hope it's longer than 20 episodes. Honestly, they could keep this going for a long time. For sure want Super back too, but this is fun. This is fun. My personal favorite Dragon Ball series is GT, so this is very similar vibes. Storyline wise, it's just different, you know? And I like this new world. It's cool. They can really do a lot with Daima, so hopefully it's not just the 20 episodes. But if it is, we've got 7 left. Only a few more months, unless they take a long hiatus. But yeah, that'll do it for this episode, y'all. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share with your friends. If you guys need any Crunchyroll logins, hit us up. We got them for you. But yeah, other than that, Dragon Ball love. Peace, y'all.